Breaking news with Based and Bougie. So today we're going to do another reaction video. So I basically found this video on YouTube, not YouTube, by the why can I not speak? The Alternative View. And it's basically about two, I believe, Asian people. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comment section. And they're basically debating the importance of DEI in the workforce and whether it works and whether it doesn't work. Obviously, they're two opposing sides. The man is always the man because men are more logical. Women are just highly emotional. Is basically saying it's not working. And the woman, she is saying that, no, we do need DEI. It is very important. It is so effective. Without it, the workforce would be nothing. But before I begin, if you guys are looking for cute jewelry, you can click the link in the bio and you can also use this code. Let's get right into it.
Going on here with the Tory party to break down these diversity initiatives that actually have been proven worldwide, report after report after report, that they do work. Now, if they're not working, there's more to the subject here. It means that actually you've done, you've face value, you've got your diversity schemes in place, but actually have you got inclusion in place? For Kemi Badenoch to commission her own report to say that actually this is a waste of money. Why are diversity initiatives always first off the chopping block, that this is too much money? Without diversity, you have to remember organisations...
Yes, it is too much money, my love. It's too much money. It's too much money, especially when our veterans who have fought for this country come back home and have absolutely nowhere to live because Keir Starmer would prefer to spend hundreds of millions on houses for migrants. Yes, it's too much money when our elderly have to sleep in the cold because Keir Starmer wants to turn off the flipping heating for them. Make that make sense? Yes, it's too much money when I could literally be dying and I have to wait 2 days for a hospital appointment because our establishment refuses to spend money on the actual NHS. Yes, it's too much money when our schools are broke. Yes, it's too much money when our roads are broke. Yes, it's too much money when our schools are broke. Yes, it is too much money. It is too much money when the whole country has gone to shit and nobody actually wants to fix the infrastructure of our country. Instead, we want to spend the money on Ukraine. We want to spend the money on diversity and inclusion. We're spending money on racism, teaching people to hire people on the basis of their skin color and not on actually what they can do. That's what we're spending our money on. I don't even think 1p should go into DEI. What? The fact that these people actually believe this is important, like they believe this is essential. Yes, we need DEI. Like, can you hear yourself?
Need diversity and inclusion schemes for many reasons. They've been proven to work. They improve financial and you create a happier working place.
Guys, so basically I did a documentary by myself. You guys should watch it. It's here. And I was basically talking about why Africa essentially failed economically after it got its independence. And I was going into South Africa. And basically during the apartheid, right, the apartheid being basically segregation, black people couldn't work with white people couldn't work with black people. The white only companies were performing very badly. The companies that were white owned, as in they stuck to the rule, which is do not hire native Africans, they were performing very badly. Whereas the companies that were hiring native South Africans illegally, because it was illegal at the time, were performing very, very well. So what happened was more and more people started to hire more native South Africans because of this, because they saw how much success was coming in from these South Africans working alongside these white South Africans. Now, what does that tell you? First of all, it had nothing to do with DEI. There was no policy in place in South Africa saying, oh my gosh, hire people because it's not fair. No, the reason why it worked is because native South Africans were skilled. They were skilled. They were skilled in mining. They were skilled in agriculture. They were skilled in their work. And that's why people were risking their businesses to hire these people.
In South Africa, they were fined in a government crackdown because they were hiring more blacks and in higher positions than they were allowed to under the apartheid law, because that was where the money was.
Your point on the distinction between racism and discrimination is, don't worry about racism. It's inside people's heads. And the best answer to discrimination is to let markets operate it will tend to militate against discrimination.
yes,
When people
of
have
course.
skills to offer, they'll be employed. Whatever this notion of racism in people's heads is, don't worry about that. Is that right?
Yeah, what I'm saying essentially is that racists may prefer one race to another, but they prefer themselves to everybody else.
So they'll do what's profitable.
They would prefer to hire these people than to actually hire the white South Americans. Meaning, if you hire people based on what they can do, not just their skin color, that's how you see results. When you hire people based on a skin color, like the people who are following the law of the apartheid, they were performing very, very badly. So this idea that we should hire people based on their skin color, it's just so stupid. It is so stupid. It's been proven time and time and time again that if you allow people to do what they are good at, whether that's agriculture, whether that's law, whether that's finance, whether that's economics, just allow people who are good at what they do to do what they are good at, you will always see success. Now, how do I know this? Look at all these plane crashes that are happening. These plane crashes that are happening in the USA, they happen when DEI policies were implemented through the Biden administration. In fact, one of the people who actually crashed the plane was transgender. It was transgender. So why is she trying to sit here and convince us that DEI is working? Babe, we've seen the statistics. It is not working.
We see so many statistics, don't we? We
So
did a
many
survey
statistics.
last year.
And
That more than a fifth of UK employees said that they had experienced discrimination in the workplace, and black employees were more than twice as likely to say they've been passed over for a promotion. So, Sunil, surely...
And you know what's so funny? This discrimination that they're talking about, 9 times out of 10, it probably wasn't discrimination. It was probably just your normal work argument. Do you know how many arguments I've had with my colleagues? It had nothing to do with race. And if someone is being racist towards you, suck it up. Do you go to work to make friends and let's be happy, or do you go to work to earn a living? Like, what world are we living in where people just want everyone is like, everyone needs to cuddle me, everyone needs to make me feel so good about myself, and if you don't, then I'm going to take it to court. Like, what are you going to work for? And what's so insane is that the first, second generation immigrant Africans and Indians, they saw racism for real. They saw racism with all those, I don't know what you call them, skinheads. I think that's what you call them. They saw real racism, but they still got on with it. Going back to the example with the apartheid, they probably saw racism in their time, but they still got on with it. So why has my generation become so fragile? We become so fragile where it's like, oh, she didn't pronounce my name correctly, it's racism. Oh, but she asked me, what is my hair real, fake? That's racism. And this is probably the scenarios they're talking about. It's not real racism. It's probably someone didn't pronounce their name wrong. So get on with it. Like, seriously, in this job crisis that we're currently in, where everybody is struggling to find a job, the last thing you want to be doing is complaining about some racism. Stay in your job, make your money, and when you're ready to find something, when something better is available, go to it. Let's continue.
Then we need more diversity training.
No, I think the diversity schemes and quotas in general hold prejudice against people that essentially, for the fact that if you're a person of color, a different skin color, the concept that you can only get a job or you have to get something via a leg up through these quotas, through these schemes, I think is totally unfair. And I think it's actually degrading. It's degrading, and if you let me finish, it's degrading and patronizing, because the concept that somebody of color needs...
It's degrading. It's degrading. If GB News, for example, reached out to me and say, Based-in-Bougie, we want to hire you because you're black, I would be devastated. I would be so devastated. But you know what would make me very happy is if GB News reached out to me and said, Based-in-Bougie, we want you to have your own show because you are the best of the best. We want you to have your own show because you're eloquent, you're modest, you speak very clearly, you're able to convey your ideas. We've seen you've been able to grow your channel in a couple of months. That's why we want to hire you, because you have a work ethic that we love that can contribute to this company. That would make me happy. But it's the fact that people are begging. They're begging to be chosen for a skin color, for a skin complexion. Let that process and register in your head. I want to be chosen because of my skin color and not actually because I'm good at what I do. Now, I'm not saying colored people can't be in high positions. Of course they can. Of course. However, I would prefer if these companies would hire people because these colored people are good at what they do. For example, Sadiq Khan, he's been hired into his position, but he is... I can't even begin to to describe the tragedy of Sadiq Khan. He is a tragedy. But someone like Kemi Badenoch, yes, she's black and she's in a high position, but she's deserving of that position. She studied, she's worked hard, she's put her life into her career as a politician, and she deserves it. But just picking people simply because they're black, it's ridiculous. And what happens is it breeds a generation of mediocrity. It breeds a generation of people who don't know how to work hard, who don't know how to aim high, who don't know how to put their all into something, because all they have to do is say, and racism, Black Lives Matter, DEI, it's not fair, and they just get the position. And it's unfair to the people who actually work very hard day and night for that position, but they don't get it because what? They're white, or they're straight, or they're male.
Because the concept that somebody of colour needs to get a virtual signalling tool to get into a place is absolutely absurd.
They obviously do.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Because if you look at the statistics, let me finish. If you let me finish, you'll be.
Why is she shouting? I can't stand people who have to have conversations shouting and speaking over people. It works my nerves.
Able to see that they're not needed. So if we look at the actual stats in terms of people who are doing most successful in this country, right? They're not British white people in terms of proportion. It is British Indians.
But no, who said that?
And the reason,
can you give me the stat for that?
The stats are so British.
That's actually incorrect.
That's not incorrect. That's not
completely incorrect.
If you do have a
I've got the exact stats for you.
Right.
British Indians are in the most senior higher positions on a percentage. In percentage, in managerial positions, they are higher.
She spoke for so long, and now when it's his time to speak,
Professional experience, they are
That's
higher.
a lie.
In professional, you can check it all up. It's all there.
What is
That's a lie.
What
That's
is
a lie.
16?
And then if you let me carry on, because there's
Sunil, I can't actually sit here and listen to my statistics.
here we go, and here we can do more.
He's not letting me finish.
Here we can do more. So if we look at the predominantly in this country.
I think this video is the perfect example of the difference between men and women. Although I love being a woman and I do admire the fact that we can be very emotional, it just doesn't work in spaces like this, because with this guy, the first thing he did was facts. Her is just, you're a liar. It's not fair. We need to be happy in the workplace. Now, I'm not saying this to downgrade women. I think that's what we're good at. We're good at being very emotional and sensitive and things like that. However, when it comes to debates and things like that, let's get a very, logical turn on women, because she's kind of embarrassing us.
Right.
British Indians are in the most senior higher positions on a percentage. In percentage, in managerial positions, they are higher. In professional experience, they are higher.
That's a lie.
In professional, you can check it all up. It's all there.
What is
That's a lie.
16? What
That's a lie.
is 16?
And then if you let me carry on, because there's here we go, and here we can do more. Okay, here we can do more. So if we look at the predominantly in this country, who's suffering the most in this country? It is predominantly British white working class kids.
That is so true. I haven't seen a white British person in a high position in a long time. I really haven't. When I go to Tesco, if I ask for the manager, it's always an Asian man. If I go to a bank, it's always an Asian man. If I go to the shopping center, it's actually, so when people say, oh, but white people are taking up most spaces, no, they're not. Go to your local superstore, go to your local supermarket, go to your local bank, or go to your local shopping center and tell me, where are these white people in high positions? Because I don't see it. I haven't seen it in a long time. So
1 in 16 ethnic minorities. Then you haven't let me finish, and you're lying.
Well, I did want to put to you as well.
Ethnic minorities.
One of the issues that was raised in this report, it was the case about the RAF. I'm sure you remember it from 2022.
Yes.
That it found to have unlawfully discriminated then, in that case, against white men in a recruitment drive aimed at boosting diversity. So I suppose then the point I suppose you're making here is that the pendulum is swinging too far the other way.
No, that's not correct. You've gone on one case, you've gone on the RAF, but actually if you look at all organisations, you do realise that organisations, they benefit from diversity initiatives, because actually 2/3 of UK employees have said that, especially Gen Z, they would never apply for an organisation unless they've got DEI initiatives in place. So actually they are beneficial. In the NHS, the biggest employer in this country, 77, nearly 80% of the employees of NHS are women. But guess how many women hold top positions in the NHS? 37%. You've got nearly 80% women, but only 37%. This isn't just about brown or black.
Should we also be concerned about the lack of spending? I mean, what we saw in the case of Birmingham City Council, for example, there was a freedom of information request. 114 councils revealed what they'd spent on these sort of roles around equality, diversity, and inclusion. Now, that worked out at £75,000 a year. All right. 0.02% of Birmingham City Council's budget was spent on these roles. 0.02%. In the grand scheme of things, that's a tiny, tiny amount. So
It's not a tiny amount, because that £75,000 can go to veterans who have fought for their country. Imagine, oh, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Imagine, imagine fighting for your country just to come home and you don't even have a house, not even a medal, nothing. Just your trauma and a dog on the streets. That 75,000 can go to that. 75,000 is a lot. And with how broke this country is, it could contribute to something.
Well, surely we should be concerned about that.
We shouldn't be spending any penny on it.
You don't think
we shouldn't spend anything on it?
So therefore,
let me finish, Narinder.
Sunil,
Let me finish. Let me make my point. Don't just shout. So if you look at the percentage, I want to go back to the white working class
She called him patronizing, even though she's literally been shouting.
people. That's what we want to talk about.
Boys. That's lack of funding in schools and lack of funding.
Please let me make
So if we look at white working class boys in this country, okay, even just white working class in general, white working class students. So 82% of this country is white. I know that's not the case in London, Birmingham, Manchester, where many institutions do their studies, but the vast majority of the country is white. If we look at this fact, if we look at the stats, white boys are do literacy rates are lower, numeracy rates are lower, and what that means, I'm not talking about funding because that's not a problem. That's not a problem in the British Asian community. That's not a problem in other
organisations. You do realise that organisations, they benefit from diversity initiatives, because actually 2/3 of UK employees have said that, especially Gen Z, they would never apply for an organisation unless they've got DEI initiatives in place. So actually, they are beneficial. In the NHS, the biggest employer in this country, 77, nearly 80% of the employees of NHS are women. But guess how many women hold top positions in the NHS? 37%.
Maybe women do not hold the top positions in the NHS because they're not applying for it. I'm a woman and I know that our nature is to nurture, is to take care. That's what we enjoy. Do you understand? So when it comes to women not being in high positions in the NHS, I generally believe is because women enjoy being on the middle ground and being hands-on, just being there, interacting, making the patients feel good, putting a smile on their face, just giving them that nurturing love that only women can provide. However, a more senior position, that's a more masculine role. That's going to require you looking through papers and scanning all of these records and looking at statistics and going through all these medicines, and that's why they avoid that position, because it doesn't match their actual nature, which is to just sit down and nurture the person that's in front of you.
If we look at this fact, if we look at the stats, white boys are literacy rates are lower, numeracy rates are lower, and what that means, I'm not talking about funding because that's not a problem. That's not a problem in the British.
Like, let him finish. If you're so, and this is the thing with people like her, if you're so confident in your opinion, surely you wouldn't need to overpower him the way you are. It goes to show that she senses that she's losing the argument, so now she kind of has to silence him by screaming over him, because she's recognizing that this man is speaking nothing but facts.
So it translates, because if in education standards in the white working class are declining, they're less likely to get a professional job. If the vast majority of this country's standards are declining, then that is terrible for black, white and brown people, because what that will mean is if the majority of the country isn't improving their standards, it doesn't matter what your skin colour is.
We are running out of time.
It doesn't matter what your skin.
It doesn't matter if the standard of the country is falling, our housing is falling, our education system is falling. If the country's literally gone to it doesn't matter about your skin color. Everything is going to fall apart. Everything is going to fall apart. So this £75,000 that we are using to teach people, to hire people based on the skin color, how about we investing in actually upping the standard of this country, investing in the education system, teaching kids real maths, real English, rather than LGBTQ and sex education, this silliness that they don't need to learn. But anyways, guys, I just think DEI is just very, very stupid. It makes no sense. Teaching people to be racist is it doesn't deserve any funding. And I think that it's not racist to say that we should allow people to be good at what they're good at. For example, if a business owner in South America decided, you know what, for the sake of DEI and inclusivity, let's hire some people from Birmingham and put them in the fields in South America, that man will lose billions. They will lose billions. The reason why is because these white people who are coming from Birmingham cannot work at the speed, cannot work at the quality, cannot work at the precision that these South Americans have been working in agriculture, in the fields, under the sun for generations. It's just not going to work. It's the same thing with the entertainment industry, If a music executive decides, you know what, we're going to get Asian people to sing R&B and hip hop, they're going to lose billions. Why? Because Asians are just not that musically talented. Let's be real. We all know black people, we thrive when it comes to music and arts and entertainment. It's the same thing with things like business, finance, law. I think one thing that English or white people thrive in is you guys are very good when it comes to like law and order and finance and banking and economics. That's just what you guys thrive in. Okay, but when we just start throwing in some hood rats into it, all in the same of diversity and inclusion, that's why our country has gone to shit. That's why it's going to shit, because we're putting people in high positions who are not good at it. They're not good at it. Now, am I trying to say that ethnic people cannot be in high positions? Of course they can, but be in that position because you worked hard for it. Be in that position because you worked hard for it. Okay, my dad came into this country, he was a bin man, and he worked what, 8 years. He did like how many, but I don't even know how many degrees my dad has, but he has so many. He worked so hard to become a doctor in 8 years. He deserves that position. And what, imagine somebody who's this hood rat from Peckham coming to take his position, all in the name of diversity and inclusion. Do you guys not realize that this hurts all of us, regardless of your skin color? But anyways, guys, if you guys want more videos like this, like and comment, and don't forget to shop 2Bougie. Bye, guys.